as Baruch said, the last thing that's great. Moran.
Wow.
Do you want these books in your view?
No.
How about this coffee cup? Maybe right there. It looks kind of professional. Rabbinic.
That's a nice touch.
All right. You brought your copy? You brought your copy?
Yeah. Super important.
All right.
Can I just record something for
Wait,
Dale?
we're actually about to start.
Yeah, but before we
If
start.
it has to do with Mickey Mouse or anything.
No, it doesn't have to do with anything else.
This next test is very dangerous. To help you remain tranquil in the face of almost certain death, smooth jazz will be deployed in 3,
Okay.
2,
All right.
1.
You gotta Okie dokie. And we're good, thanks. Play some with that. Alright, so back to the story at large. Yeah. So basically we had sort of three questions regarding the Beis Shammai conversation, which was that all the laws are going to go like Beis Shammai in the future. So we said that first of all, and this was supposed to be a model. I'm going to do a little review because we have a little ground to cover. This is supposed to be a model which was like an example of the Shura Bor, the heter of the Shura Bor, that when new knowledge will come out, like when people will be smart enough to understand Beis Shammai, so too like when Mashiach will reveal the secrets of the Torah, so will cause a change in halacha. By Beis Shammai it means everyone's going to start ruling towards, the Chumrah, and in the Mashiach's case they're going to be the heter of the Shura Bor. So right there is one of the questions. Why in the case of Beis Shammai, when the more intellect comes out, it turns everything into being more prohibitive, whereas the rule in Mashiach is that it's going to go from being a prohibited shchita to a permissible one. So if the increase in knowledge is going to change the halacha, then why is it changed to chumrah in the Shammai case versus lakula in the Mashiach's case? Do you understand what I just said?
Can you explain the Mashiachs in English?
Mashiach is the idea that the heter of the shchita of the Shura Bor, that the ox is going to be shechted in a kosher way, but this fin is going to turn kosher all of a sudden. Right? Remember?
Yeah, okay.
You with me?
Oh, weird stuff.
The second question on Beis Shammai was, why are we going to need all these new prohibitions in the times of the Mashiach when we're going to have no Yetzer Hara and no need to refrain from anything? And the third question was, or sort of statement, is that the one time that they did go like Beis Shammai, they testified that it was like the day they worshipped the calf, right? The opposite of Mashiach, the opposite of Torah Chadasha. So why is that all of a sudden going to be a good thing? Then we went back and we said that, okay, let's look at this thing from its source. We'll leave those questions on the side for a minute. What's the source halachically that there is such a concept of changing halacha in the future, or an addition to the mitzvahs, or some kind of a change or subtraction to the mitzvahs in the future when Mashiach comes? And we said it came from the Psak Din of the Rambam, that in order to fulfill the mitzvah of the Arei Miklat properly, when Hashem will increase our boundary, 3 new cities will be added. This never happened before. Hashem doesn't command anything for no reason. So it's going to happen when Mashiach comes. So what do you see from here? That part of the halachas of Mashiach is that new halachas will come out when Mashiach comes. And it's not really new because it's already part of the mitzvah. So we can learn from here the principle that all the types of halachas that we're saying are sort of new and changing when Mashiach comes out, we learn from their source in the Shulchan Aruch that they're all like the Arei Miklat, which is that even though something new happens, it's not really new, it's already part of the pre-existing mitzvah and just sort of waiting to hatch when Mashiach comes out, much like the 3 new cities of the Arei Miklat. Yeah? Just reviewing, you with me? So he said, why the Arei? Okay, so then we had two more sort of leading questions. Why is it that the Arei Miklat is so special? That with Itavka adding 3 cities to the Arei Miklat is what completes halachically the ability, that the proof that Mashiach is going to come, regarding the fact that we cannot do the mitzvahs of Hashem unless in the future we're going to add these 3 cities, and therefore Mashiach's coming like hangs entirely on the mitzvah of Ari Miklat, that when we'll add these 3 cities, we can fulfill the Hashem's will in full. What's so special about the Ari Miklat that it gets chosen, that with this mitzvah, it's the proof that there's a Mashiach in the Torah, and only when we fulfill it properly is Mashiach going to come.
Ari Miklat is
The refuge city.
The city of refuge. And sort of as a tandem on that, why the Ari Miklat Mamish? Because seemingly the Ari Miklat is the idea of requiring refuge for murderers, which is the exact opposite of what's going to be going on in the days of Mashiach. So why are we going to have 3 more of them? It's a question whether we're going to even need 6. And now we're going to have 3 more, and not only we're going to have them, but that is the proof that there's going to be a Mashiach, because it all depends on adding 3 more cities that murderers can run to when there's not going to be any need for murderers. It's very strange.
What's the Torah say in terms of when the 3 cities will come? Is there
when Hashem will increase our boundary. Karchiv Hashem es gevulcha. Basically when we take over the cities of...
Sorry, these are cities that murderers run to?
Yeah, if they kill by accident.
Okay.
Okay?
Isn't that so the family doesn't avenge them?
Yeah.
Did we go over where the source of saying that we need 3 cities? Like maybe we don't.
In the Torah. It actually says in the Torah. Yisafta lecha shlosh arim. To add 3 cities.
Oh, wow.
Right in the Torah.
We never got around to it yet.
We got right around to it.
No, but seriously, we
When the Mashiach comes, we got it. It's in the building stage.
Oh, you're saying we didn't make those cities yet?
we have to do it before the Mashiach.
No, we don't. That's the thing. It's like when Mashiach comes, then we're going to do it. That's the whole point. It's like something new happens when Mashiach comes. Okay, so that being said, is everyone with me? Yeah? That being said, we went on to explain that in general, the Torah comes in like 2 different styles, if you will. One is Torah which is like practical Torah, which is relevant to action, right? And one, and that's sort of like, he calls it here, that it was given to the earth to effect a change on the earth in the realm of actual doing good and turning from evil in this dimension. And the other part of the Torah, the higher part of the Torah, is sort of like the secret treasure of Hashem, Hashem's like plaything, as it were, that it's the wisdom of Hashem which is completely beyond the world. So you have these 2 aspects of Torah. One is beyond creation, and one is all about directing creation. And we said in general you can divide this into simply the categories of Torah and mitzvahs. Torah is something which is not really for the world, it's just sort of information, and mostly godly information. Mitzvahs is practically how to handle and refine a world. It's like a practical instructions for changing the physical world. And then you can divide that in Torah mitzvahs itself. So the Torah goes into sort of 2 levels. Torah which is Nigla and Nister, right? You have basically the revealed parts of Torah and the secret parts of Torah. And again, the revealed parts of Torah, even if you're going to learn them not in a state of... actually, we skipped a step in there. There's the idea of learning halacha. There's the idea of like learning just to learn for learning's sake, not necessarily to get to the final point. And even if you're going to learn for learning's sake, in that you can already divide into Nigla and Nister, the revealed parts and the secret parts, and therefore, sort of in its final analysis, even if you're going to be learning Torah all day, not for practicality's sake, just to like sort of be connected to the divine wisdom, if you're learning Nigla, you're still learning a topic which has to do with the physical world. Because all the conversations are surrounding Maisers and Trumas and tzedakah, things that have to do with refining this physical world. Even if you're not actually coming to step into the world and refine them, just the conversation is about them. Versus Kabbalah, there's a conversation about souls and angels and Ein Sof, which is not about the world at all. Okay, so he says that this is in general the difference between Torah of today and Torah of Mashiach. That the Torah of today is focusing on fixing the world. Because since the sin of Adam, the world has been mixed with good and evil. And the whole job of the Torah is that it turned into like a practical document in order to tell us how to remove the good from the evil. But in the future, the Torah of Mashiach is going to really, that job is going to be taken care of already. The world will sort of return, as we said, to a state of Gan Eden, where the evil was concentrated in the snake, and everything else was good, and there was no mixing of it, and therefore there was no need for a Torah to instruct you how to extract one from the other. And therefore the Torah of Mashiach will be a Torah which is sort of beyond this world, not one to make birurim, refinements in the world, but rather one to just draw down more and more levels of light and yichudim, uniting godliness with the world. You with me? And we said that nowadays there's a little bit of Kabbalah necessary in order to sort of inspire you to do the refinement process. So they're mixed in, but there's a dominant one and a sort of secondary one. And in the future also, even though the Kabbalah will be sort of the main learning, it's not, the Nigla won't disappear, it's just that everyone will know it automatically without even having to deal with it or look at it, because they're going to just know the revealed parts from having the secret parts before their eyes. Right? You'll automatically know all the halachas when you're looking at the Kabbalistic, reality behind those halachas in a revealed way. Yeah, everyone's caught up here? I'm just getting some blank looks here. You with me? It was a review. Yeah? Yeah? All right. So then, we went on to say that this is the difference between the 6 cities of refuge versus the other 3 that are going to be added in the future. That the difference between Zman Hazeh, basically, these, again, we're trying to answer the question, why is this mitzvah chosen as sort of the poster child for Mashiach, and all of Mashiach's coming depends on it, because it's much more significant than it seems. And in general, the idea of the difference between the 6 and the 9 is the difference between Torah, Bizman Hazeh, versus the Torah of Mashiach. And first understand, we started to say that the mitzvah of the Ir Miklat is connected with, in general, fixing the Chet Eitz Hadas. It's there to fix the source of all sin. It's there to fix the sin of good and evil, of the eating of the tree of good and evil. Why? Because basically after Adam ate it, he was banished from the garden, and it says he should have been killed. Why should he have been killed? Because he basically murdered every other person that would ever live after him. Death entered the realm of existence because of his actions. What? Yeah, well, simple.
We should make t-shirts, it's Adam's fault.
Right? And so Hashem basically had Rahmanas on him. Instead of murdering him, he banished him from the garden, because really he murdered by accident, and therefore he was like one who ran to the city of refuge. And so the whole world essentially is one big city of refuge that Adam was placed into because he was an accidental murderer. So we see that was the tikkun for his sin. Instead of killing him, he was given this punishment, a way to enable him to refine it and to fix it, just like a person who has to go into a city of refuge after they kill accidentally. That's their tikkun.
But that made the whole planet a city of refuge.
Right.
So we're going to have 2 more planets when Mashiach comes.
Ubepratius Yoser, and in more detail, we said, how is it connected to fixing the sin? This whole notion of a city of refuge is, in fact, that every sin that a person does is considered killing someone by accident. And we learned this out from the idea that it says shofech dam ha'adam ba'adam, that what is murder called is spilling the blood of man by man. And we basically said that man whose blood is being spilled is the godly soul, and the man who's killing him is the animal soul. And every time a person sins, there's sort of a spilling of the blood. What's the idea of the spilling of the blood? The blood is the energy and the life force that should be flowing in a healthy way inside the mitzvahs, and sort of giving them the limbs, so to speak, and giving them vitality. And when you poke a hole, you sort of veer off the blood outside of its proper track, and it ceases to vitalize the godly soul, and it's called spilling blood. We spoke about it more in detail last time, but the idea is that any time there's a sin, there's a blemish, and the blood gets off of its track of being in a healthy flow through mitzvahs, and it's called killing someone, spilling blood. And of course, it's by accident, because we said that every time a Jew sins, it's all because of a ruach shtus, a spirit of folly that enters him. No Jew would ever intentionally sin. And therefore, every single time a person sins, it has the effect of killing someone by accident, right? And therefore, the tikkun of every sin is somehow is in the form of the Ir Miklat, whose job it is to fix killing someone by accident. So really, we're seeing that the Ari Miklat is not stam a regular mitzvah; it's some kind of a general klal, which is really there to heal the whole world, and therefore it makes more sense that this mitzvah was chosen to be the mitzvah which all of Mashiach's coming depends on. All right, so that was the review. Any questions on the review? Would anybody like?
Well, why is the Mashiach coming dependent upon expanding our boundaries? How's that?
I guess because we were promised these 3 extra lands.
But only when Mashiach comes?
When Mashiach comes, right? The initial job of the Jews was to conquer and settle the 7 nations of Canaan. Right. So those 3 were basically they're waiting for us.
Well, everybody's going to be moving to Israel, so I guess you need more land.
Okay. So anyway, let's see it inside. Page 187, the first column, second paragraph. So he says the tikkun lezeh. All right. So how do we fix, so to speak, everybody's sin being an accidental murder? So what's the, so to speak, the Ari refuge, the cities of refuge that fix it? Tikkun lezeh hu alidei hagalos le'ir miklat. So how do you fix a sin in any sin, which has now been described as a accidental murder? You have to run to the city of refuge. Sheromez al haTorah. And what is the city of refuge? Really, the Torah itself is called the city of refuge. Kamaymer Azal, where do we see this? Because it says Divrei Torah koltin. It says the words of the Torah absorb you. They're a refuge for you. In general, the whole Torah is there to sort of like absorb you and protect you and take you in like a city of refuge. Hainusha Torah koletes za'adam, which means the Torah takes in the person, ha'osek ba, who's learning it, la'hagein alav, to protect him, la'tzilu mipnei goel adam, and to save him from, like what we said, the pursuer of the blood. Who's the pursuer of the blood? He's the Yetzer Hara. Right? He's the one who's trying to get you and kill you. Who are Satan, who are Yetzer Hara? This is the Satan, this is the Yetzer Hara. And right, what's the whole idea of a city of refuge practically, halachically? When you go there, then all the people who are trying to kill you, they're not allowed to go in. It's like it's a refuge, right? Who's trying to, you killed someone by accident, so now his kin have permission, according to Torah, to come and kill you. So you got to go get yourself into the city of refuge so you're safe. So the Torah is called the city of refuge. It protects you from the one who's trying to kill you, who's the Satan, who's your Yetzer Hara.
Is that the ultimate goal of the Satan, is to kill you?
Yes. He's looking to kill. Which is strange because basically
Dance to death.
he's inside of you. So it says that the Satan takes on like a few different hats. First, he's sort of like he pretends he's your friend, and he's tempting you to go astray. Then all of a sudden you go astray, and he becomes the accuser. He says, "Look what you did." Then he becomes the judge. He gives you the sentence. Why are you back there? And then
The fire is too bright over there.
and then he becomes the executioner. Right, and they say, oh, they're all the same person. He's just putting on different hats. So this person, ultimately, who wants to kill you, is literally living inside of you. It's maybe a good thing to know when you think about your thoughts of your Yetzer Hara. Where are they leading? Where he's ultimately hoping that they lead is literally to kill you.
Was he hoping that you kill yourself because you're guilty?
Killing yourself is probably the biggest sin. So he's into it. If he doesn't have to get his hands dirty, even better. But that's the point. Yeah, it's like there's a force inside of us which is mamish a destructive force. We have to know what it is, so we don't go after his his smiley temptations, which is in the beginning he looks like your friend. Okay, so this is the Torah which basically protects you for him. Below od el sha'al yada nasa tikun v'shfichas dam v'chayus ha'adam dekedusha shenimshach ma'atorah. So not only does it protect you, but it also fixes the blood that was spilled and the life force of Kedusha, right? Shenimshach ma'atorah chayus chadash mitoras chaim. In other words, because the Torah can give you new blood, it can give you new life. So this that you, like the person was murdered, basically, going back to the Torah is like a Techiyas HaMesim. It can revive and restore the Nefesh HaElokis that was originally, his blood was spilled by the Nefesh of Hamas. Mashiach, in the days of Mashiach, la'achri shleimus bira olam, as we said, the world will be totally refined at that point. There won't be any more work to do of separating the good from the evil. So the whole concept of the Ari Miklat, now we'll understand why we're going to need these cities of refuge in the future to come, when there's no more murder. Because their whole function will be on a totally different level. They'll serve a different function. Yedua Shegami Mosa Mashiach, it's known that even in the days of Mashiach, Kishetushlam Avodas B'nai Yisrael, B'bira Tov Minara, when it will finally be completed, the service of the Jewish people of their 1,000-year-long process of refining the good from the evil, Yigil Shleimus, Shais Lifnei Chet Eitz Hadas, and they'll reach to the perfection that was there in the world before the original sin. There still will be the existence of evil in the world. Let's look at footnote 108 to understand what he's saying. Is there evil or is there not evil? So we're saying that there's evil, but it's not mixed in with everything. This is what the days of Mashiach are going to bring us to.
So
they're going to bring us back to a state of Gan Eden. Recall, in Gan Eden, there was evil in the world. It just wasn't mixed into everything, and therefore there was no need to refine the evil from things and to go through and do this whole purifying process of the world. The world was fine. It just had evil in it. Evil was part of it. But it was concentrated in the snake. Right? So we're gonna when we finish our job, as the Rabbi was always calling out and saying in the final years, like we finished the process of the birurim, whatever that means. We have to look into that another time. We have more bandwidth here. But the days of Mashiach, when the refinement will be complete, it doesn't mean that evil will disappear from the world. It means it will be concentrated all in its evil place. The good will be in the good place, the evil will be in the evil place, and there won't be any mixture anymore.
What purpose will it serve?
Wait, so there's still going to be...
What purpose did it play in Gan Eden?
To kick off this whole game to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but after this whole game now finishes and transcends into a new level, what purpose will it serve then?
Well, it's interesting. The evil, it actually served more of a purpose than just to kick off the game. It had a certain service that it gave to Adam Arishon. Right? As the snake, he was giant. He walked on two legs, and he was like serving Adam. So there's some kind of a concept of a usefulness for evil, even on the side of good. It's not just there to trip into and make you lose yourself, and therefore kick off this whole game, as you said, of like ruining the world and having to fix it. The presence of it itself serves a certain function, as we'll see. Did someone else ask something? Let's look at footnote 108. He says, "Rak achereze." So, in other words, you're telling me there's going to be evil like eternally in the world? No, there's not going to be eternally evil. Only afterwards, in what we call the olam hatchiyah, in the world of tchiyas hamesim, which now is very much, the Rebbe is distinguishing different periods. Right? There's Yemos Mashiach, which is one thing, where there will be evil, and apparently there will not be the return of the dead yet. And then the next level is called tchiyas hamesim. And there, Yibatul HaKadosh Baruch Hu Metzias Hara Min HaOlam. There, Hashem will remove the entire existence of evil from the world. It will happen. As it says, it's Ruach HaTuma Avri Min HaAretz. As it says, I will remove the spirit of impurity from the earth. But Tekufa Zu Amnu Chazal, and it's regarding this period that the sages went further and said, Shemitzvahs Betelus Lasi Lavo. Their mitzvahs will be nullified in the future. We won't have mitzvahs anymore. And it makes perfect sense according to what we're saying, because what's the function of mitzvahs, as we said, in terms of if you divide the Torah into its two categories, which we spoke about in the review, that there's the practical category, and there's a sort of beyond the world category. And the practical category, another way of saying it, is mitzvahs versus Torah. So if the whole job of mitzvahs is basically to go into the world and utilize the world in a holy way, thus rejecting evil and bringing good close by performing the mitzvah, when the process of perfection is taking place. The word mitzvah also means tzav tzivachibur. It means to connect two things. Right? In the day of Techiyas HaMesim, the world and God will be connected. There's not going to be an active process of connecting godliness to the world. So their mitzvahs will be nullified. ועל פי זה צריך להבין שאסור ללוויאס המשור הבר. So therefore, according to this, we have to understand that the meal, the great meal that we're talking about, of this Leviathan and Ashur Abar, that's going to be eaten from this newly kosherized shechita that Hashem is going to permit, it must be in what period? In the Bimos HaMashiach. It's in the period called the days of Mashiach, before Techiyas HaMesim, because there's still mitzvahs. We're still worried about it, but the knife is kosher, etc. Right? So it must be that the period we're talking about is the Yemos HaMashiach.
What, Imot?
Yemos HaMashiach, the days of Mashiach. So he says, Kila achar mitzvahs betelos, because after the mitzvahs will be nullified, ein makom l'shak levataria. There's no more room for a debate if this is kosher or not, and therefore ein tzrich chiddush Torah. If there's no more evil in the world, there's no more mitzvahs. You're not going to need a chiddush Torah to come and permit the prohibited, and therefore the whole conversation is basically regarding Yemos HaMashiach, the days when there's still mitzvahs, and therefore there's still evil in the world, but it just will be concentrated much as it was in the days of Gan Eden before the sin. Okay? So going back inside, we're saying, so therefore there will still be, even in the days of Mashiach, the existence of evil in the world. Therefore, there still will be a need for the cities of refuge. Right? In other words, we're saying here, so one answer to our question is that, why are you going to need cities of refuge? Because evil will still be existing.
Didn't we say that the bad will be outside of us, though?
Okay, so we still need to know why there's a risk we might kill someone. That maybe is still on the table. But he's saying, meanwhile, that since there's evil in the world, there is somehow still a need for these refuge. Your question is the right one. But he's just beginning the answer by saying evil exists, and therefore there is still some kind of... If there was no evil, there really would be no place whatsoever for a place, for a city. Again, especially when the city of refuge doesn't just mean murder, but it means any sin. Right? We're saying killing someone by accident is any sin. So since there's still evil in the world, the concept of sin is still in the world, and therefore the concept of needing a city of refuge is still in the world. Yeah.
At what period was it that evil disappears after Techiyas HaMesim?
Yeah, that's Techiyas HaMesim period.
After or during?
That is Techiyas HaMesim period. That revival, when the revival of the dead comes, there won't be any more evil, any more mitzvahs. And this is 1 second. This like to this point that there's still going to be the existence of evil in the world, and therefore there's going to be the existence of the Ari Miklat, even though it's kind of like something that we don't really feel like we're going to need, because it's going to be, this evil is going to be very much relegated. He says that this is similar to what it says in Tanya, that in the future, footnote 109, Al derech gam shegam yemos Mashiach, in a similar vein, that in the days of Mashiach, yitzrechu leida halachas of Isur and Heter. We're still going to need to know the laws of permissible and prohibited Tuma and Tara, impure and pure, even though we're not going to have to deal with them, since they'll be known clearly by every Jew, with a sort of intrinsic knowledge without ever having to be forgotten. So you see, this is a similar idea. Why are we going to have to need to know the laws of Nigla, right? Which again, Nigla is sort of like having to refine the world, as opposed to just Kabbalah. We're still going to need to know Nigla, even though we're not going to have to deal with it very much. It's still going to be in existence, because there's still going to be this concept of a world. There still is a world with a little bit of evil in it. So even though it's like pushed away and relegated, the things that we need, our birur tools, like our tools of refinement, all still have to somewhat stay in place. Again, as we said regarding the Ari Miklat, they're going to go to a higher level. They're going to have new meaning imbued in them. But they're not going to disappear yet, because the evil is still around. So to the whole Indian of Nigla and having to know good from bad is still going to be around, just going to be not really dealt with too much and sort of known implicitly. Okay, so here's the point. To your point, he says, L'chein, therefore remain the Ari Miklat. Why? Why do you need them? No one's really going to seemingly have to go in them. Kedei lishlo, turning the page, efsharus le'inyan bilti ratzoi. This is the main punchline. it's there in order to negate even the possibility of something bad happening. In other words, because there's evil in the world, like Adam Yaakov, you were just saying, this evil in the world, it could kickstart the whole madness all over again, right? That we're going to trip up and sin, and in other words, the possibility of evil and like the worst type of evil is still there when it's all concentrated in the snake, right? So in order to negate the possibility of this evil getting mixed in and having an effect on the world, that's what the purpose of these Ari Miklat are doing there, right? Not so much to actually collect the sinner, which is what we normally think about them, right? That after the sin has been done, so this person has to run in there, the damage has already been done, and they're there to sort of refine and correct the damage. This is already like I don't know.
Somehow this answers why there's 3 more.
This is a like a holistic. What do you call it when you heal the body without having before it gets sick? Preventive. Thank you. It's a preventive measure, right? Preventive measure.
But it's also predicting that this will happen. In other words, if you didn't think it would happen, then you wouldn't set up these. You wouldn't have these cities.
You're not necessarily. You're not saying, you're not like reading the future and saying someone's going to, just because I'm going to. In other words, I'm going to put a person in a straitjacket, who's a crazy person who's going to kill somebody, God forbid. So I know that he could kill someone, but just because I put him in a straitjacket doesn't mean that I'm seeing the future. I know this person's going to kill someone. I'm preventing him from doing what he shouldn't be doing. It doesn't mean that I'm reading the future that he's going to do it, right? On the contrary, these being in place are the very preventative measure which is going to keep the evil from actually coming out of us, right?
I don't understand how they're preventative though.
I get that. We have to explain it further.
Adding 3 more really sends a clearer message, doesn't it?
Hold on, it's not clear yet, right? I don't think it's strange still, right?
Yeah.
But the Rabbi he's developing a concept,
Okay.
right? So he says that what they're going to do, the presence of them is the idea of adding a preventative measure so that nothing can even possibly happen. That could come as a result of that there will still be the existence of evil in the world. Just like we found that before the original sin, there was certainly the possibility of sin being in the world, right? Due to the fact that evil was sitting in the world. Right? But in that standpoint, they didn't have, let's say, this preventive measure of the extra 3 cities of refuge, etc. So we have to understand, how does this actually work? Inyan zeh, shlilas efsharus le'inyan bilti ritzui. So now we're really going to go into this concept to make it clear. This notion of negating the possibility of something bad happening. Yes, it will occur from merely adding these 3 extra cities. Hosafa sug chadash shel ari miklat. And why is that? Because they're not just 3 extra cities, and the cities themselves, we already got through saying, they're not really just cities. They represent something very deep and profound. They are the original, rectification of sin, after all. So the idea of adding 3 more is not just adding 3 more Gashmi Dika cities. It's the idea of adding a new brand, a new breed of Ari Miklat. That the 6 are on one type of dimension, and the new 3 represent another type of dimension. And what does it really mean? His galus chadasha b'divrei Torah koltin. Again, what do the cities of refuge really represent? Yes, there will be 3 cities, but they also represent something, and they also come with a package of something new happening to the world. Remember, these are the days of Mashiach. They represent what is Ari Miklat. We already said that the Miklat represents Torah. Because Divrei Torah koltin, the words of Torah take you in and protect you, if you recall. So the whole idea of 3 new cities coming out is an indication that we are now revealing the Torah Chadasha, right? The revelation of these 3 new cities is Divrei Torah koltin, is this the Indian of Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitzei. If the cities of refuge are Torah, then the addition of new cities that have never been seen before, a new breed of city, represents the addition of Torah Chadasha in the world. Period. Just let that sink in, right? So we're not talking anymore about just 3 cities. Yes, there'll be 3 cities. But something interesting is going to come along with these 3 cities, which these 3 cities actually represent, is that the Torah Chadasha will be available suddenly. That's going to change the game, big time. Which is Hisgalus Taimi Torah de Pnimiyas Torah. What do we mean by Torah Chadasha? The secrets of Kabbalah, in the deepest level that we don't even understand what that even means at this day, are going to come out. Mashiachs Torah. The cave of Pnimiyas Torah hu lamayla Mashiachs labir tovera. And since, as we said, that Mashiach's Torah is on this second realm, and we said the Torah is in 2 dimensions. One part of the Torah was to fix the world, the other part was in this realm of beyond the world. Since the Torah Chadasha is like the pristine version of the Torah, which is beyond the world, it's beyond any connection to refining good from evil. L'chein koletes za'adam ba'ofen shesholeles gam efsharus le'inyan bilti ritzui. Therefore, this level of Torah will take in, be a refuge of the person in a way that it negates even the possibility of doing something wrong. Let's talk about this for a second and just spell it out a little bit clearer. The Rebbe said the answer to the question. How is that merely adding 3 cities is going to make it that no one's going to ever do anything wrong? That putting this straitjacket on the person is going to make it so he's never going to have a possibility of sinning. Right? So what we're saying is we're going to reveal these. First of all, what do these 3 cities represent besides being 3 actual cities? Is the Torah Chadash is going to come out. What is the Torah Chadasha? The Rabbi already said there's 2 types of Torah. One which is relevant to refining the world, one which is completely beyond anything to do with refining the world. When that level of Torah is grasped by an individual, which is completely beyond the world, it's going to place him in a status where falling into the need to refine a broken world is simply not relevant for him anymore. In other words, it's like a straitjacket. It's such a protection for a person to see this level of Torah that it's going to keep him away from having anything to do with negativity in the world. Right? The whole idea of the original Torah that we have now is because a person does have shaykhis to evil. And therefore it goes into the world with him and shows him how to pull himself out of his evil place. But the new Torah is going to put a person on such a status that he's not going to even know what it means to dip into and enter into the realm of worldliness. He's going to be standing in a place which is beyond the world. Because of his perception of this new level of Torah. And therefore, if he's beyond the world, he's certainly not going to fall into the trick of the world's allure and trickle into sin, etc. Right? So therefore, these cities of refuge, so to speak, without even having to go into them, they protect you, because they represent that with them comes this new realm that killing someone by accident is actually never going to happen. What's better, to kill someone by accident and then run in and have to deal with it? Or to have these cities which literally from afar protect you from ever even having to kill someone by accident? They're also a tikkun for killing someone by accident. It's just that they're preventative. You see what I'm saying?
There's no evil there.
There's evil in the world.
But none of those right.
But in your place, you are beyond the world. Because you're experiencing Torah Chadasha. So even though there is such a thing as evil, and theoretically you could trip into it, being in possession of these 3 cities, like so to speak, before you come into them, they protect you from their very presence, that you'll never wind up being a pursued, victim of the city of refuge, because you won't ever wind up killing someone by accident. Again, the best way of understanding is preventative medicine, right? What's the purpose of a city of refuge? To refine and fix the person who killed by accident. So you could go to the doctor after you've already made the mistake, or you can go to the doctor before you make the mistake so you don't even get sick in the first place. There's still disease in the world. It's just that you've got preventative medicine, so that the disease never gets into you. So this is the whole thing comes out. There's evil, but this level of Torah negates you from even the possibility of falling into the evil. Make sense?
Who's going to go into those new cities?
As I just said, you're not going to have to go into them.
Okay.
Right? Because their presence of them equals the presence of the Torah Chadasha, which is going to keep you from ever sinning, basically. And therefore, they are working their magic, though. They are helping the accidental murderer. But they're helping him before he even gets in there.
So it makes sense why we go by Beis Shammai. Everything more strict. Is less chance to do anything wrong.
Very good. Very good. We're going to get there right now.
sounded to me like Torah Chadasha helps the accidental murder from never sinning, because we're never going to sin.
Right.
And these new cities remind us of the old Torah that we've evolved from.
No. That's, in other words, they're not just a reminder. If you're a reminder, you pass by the city, you're like, hey, don't go in there. This represents a new chapter of human perception. It's not just like the cities remind you of the old days of old per se. It's that the addition of these 3 new cities comes with it, just like you were asking a moment ago, and I sort of didn't answer you clearly because the answer is like sort of packed in. You're like, wait, so does Tchias HaMesim happen and then mitzvahs are nullified, or mitzvahs get nullified and then Tchias HaMesim happens? I said, no, it's one thing, right? It's a process which happens simultaneously. That when these 3 cities come into the world, that is an indication of the Torah Chadasha has now been entered into the human consciousness. And like again, this is a type of Torah, like look, being at Har Sinai, okay, where you're hearing, sights and you're seeing sounds, and all the Torah is being spoken in 70 languages simultaneously, and you're like in this totally elevated state of godliness. That's what we're talking about. It's not like you're going to have to walk by and be like, oh, look at these cities, I'm not going in there. You're going to be protected from sin because you're going to be looking at God constantly. And so therefore, for sure there's going to still be like a realm of evil in the world, but you're not going to want to go there because you're going to be delighting in the godly information. So the presence of those cities literally protects you from accidentally murdering someone just from their presence. Okay. So he says, going on in the next paragraph, Yesh Lomar, Sha'arim Miklat Shabizman Hazeh, that the cities of refuge that we have nowadays are 6 cities. Hem Keneged Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. They correspond, again, the Arim Miklat is like one with Torah. So literally, why are there 6? Because they represent the 6 orders of the Mishnah, which is basically the entire Torah. The way Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, categorized the entire Torah is that really it's divided by 6 categories. Kolel, Perusha, and Gemara, which of course contains inside of it all of their explanations in the Gemara. So the Torah we have nowadays, which is like Nigla, is basically the Indian of 6. And that's where the cities of refuge are 6, because they represent the presence of the Nigla in the world. Shebehem Nizbaru Kol Prati Adinin, that in this, of course, 6 Sidrei Mishnah, in what we call the Shas, they explain all the details, laws of Isra v'Heter, Tumah v'Tara, Chiyuv and Pater, right? Basically, whether you're guilty or innocent, Sha'al Yadam Nase Bira Olam. And through them, through these 6 cities of refuge, this is how the world gets refined. We actually enter into the world and take the good and leave the evil, etc. Whereas the cities of refuge that will be added in the days of Mashiach, Shlosh Arim, they represent 3 more cities. They are Keneged Hosafach V'Chidush B'Klaus HaTorah. They represent a brand new level of Torah learning, which is a level which is beyond the refinement of the world. Urayin Tlisoy, as it says in the Gemara, that the Torah is essentially a 3-part Torah. There's like this, we're given the Torah in the 3rd month, right? By the 3rd shepherd, etc. We go into all those 3s over there, because the sort of the essence of the Torah is the union of 3, and this is the extra Shalosh Arim, the 3 cities, Ayidis Galos, the Penimius Torah, and this will come out by the Penimius Torah coming out. What are the 3 cities? Basically, is Chochmah, Bina, and Das, right? These are the Penimius Torah. It's called by that name, and so this is the extra 3 cities, also indicated by these extra 3 lands that we were talking about that Avram is going to collect, as he explains right presently. Yum Tak Yosef, we can sweeten this a little bit more. Sheshlosh Arim, these 3 cities that will be added via Mosa Mashiach, Haim, Va'ari Hakini, Va'knizi, Va'hakadmoni. Right, these are the 3 cities that are going to be added. Where are they going to be added? In the actual Eretz Yisrael proper. In the 3, it says, when Hashem will increase our boundary, we're going to add these 3 cities. So in the increased boundary, which is again the lands of Kini, Knizi, V'Kadmoni, which as we said before is the lands that was promised to Lot's children, Moab and Ammon and then Esav, these 3 lands, they're going to be eventually given to the Jewish people. They were already promised by Hashem to Abraham. Those are going to be the increased boundaries, and these 3 extra cities are going to be placed in those 3 lands. These 3 cities, shenichas Avram Avinu bris aleim, that Avram was already promised them, vayadayin lo nichbashu, and we still have not yet conquered them. Valein nemar b'Torah, and that's what it means. The Torah im yarchiv Hashem es gevulcha, that if Hashem will increase your boundary, v'yedu shekibus eretz zayin umos b'nefesh, and it's known that the conquest of the 7 lands of the nations, which happened, in so far, was indicated, so to speak, in our soul work as the Indian of Biru Hamidos, right? What's the idea of the 7 nations of Canaan? Is of course, the 7 spheros. So every Jew has to conquer his 7 nations of Canaan, and that's the idea of overtaking your animalistic midos with the godly midos from Chesed to Malchus. So the whole process up until now of conquering the land on the previous lands is the idea in Avodas Hashem of, again, refinement of the midos. The midos have been corrupted, and conquering the land is again this idea of birur, right, which is something which is shaykh to Zman Hazeh, not the times of Mashiach. We're going to separate the good from the evil.
This is some correlation with this week's parsha, Shalach, of the spies going in to conquer the land.
Sure. Yep. Shizoi klalus havoda bizman hazeh. And in general, since we haven't gotten to the 3 new cities, we haven't gotten to the times of Mashiach, that is the general avoda of these days. Kibush eretz gimel umos, whereas the conquest of the 3 other lands, keni kenizi v'kadmuni, benefesh, when it comes to the soul, what does that represent? Our work internally. Hu inyan bir hamochi. That's the idea of refining the brain. Mashiach. Not just refining your midos, that you turn your midos to be godly midos, but actually taking it up a level and turning the whole intellectual process. In other words, your powers of intellect, transforming them that they don't have a shaykhis to evil anymore, and refining them to just be like the only thing is that your godly soul's Chabad has taken over and total control of your animal soul's Chabad.
Explain that again.
So basically, just like you're
Like giving yourself into Chabad completely?
Chabad represents, remember, Chochma, Bina, and Das. It's an acronym for the 3 higher spheros of the mind, right? So what we're saying is that just like the process in general, look, let's break it down a second. What's the general process of a Beinoni? Is that you can affect your thought, speech, and action, right? And that's pretty much as you can really conquer, right? You're talking about the Parsha Shalach. Of course, there's a famous sicha that Moshe's spies sort of failed, right? Because Moshe was telling them to conquer the whole land. Whereas Yoshua, in the Haftorah of this coming week, he also sent spies. He didn't send them to the whole land, he only sent them to Jericho. Jericho, without a whole lot of explanation here, represents not the whole land, but just the what? The levushim, the garments of the soul. Whereas the 7 nations of Canaan represents the actual midos, the city of Yericho represents just the garments of the soul, the chokhmah, bina, and das. Excuse me, the machshava, dibur, maisa, the thought, speech, and action. Right? So therefore, he was successful because you're able to conquer the thought, speech, and action. But conquering the actual midos, it was basically, that's why Hashem didn't even command us to do it. Moshe, from his own, said, let's send the spies, because that's it's like really too much to ask for a person to conquer their midos all in one shot. But in the end of this mimer, the Rebbe says that if you'll conquer your thought, speech, and action, and you'll become a Beinoni, so this will actually be the lead-in for your ability to actually go deeper into yourself and actually refine your midos as well. In other words, the process of refining your thought, speech, and action and becoming a Beinoni will eventually lead you and be a catalyst to be able to eventually refine your actual midos, which means even the evil within, that you have a natural compulsion because of your animal soul to be drawn towards evil, you will uproot it, refine it, and get rid of it and transform it, and you'll be basically only having godly emotions inside. You'll only be led in the direction of God. That will happen eventually after conquering Yericho. It'll lead into conquering the whole land. But there's yet another realm of conquest, which is that your mind Your mind is much more sophisticated, basically. It also has the Chochmah, Bina, and Das of Klippa, right? So you can't even pretend to start conquering that, just like you couldn't get to your Midos until you conquered your garments. So too, if after you conquer your garments, and that will lead you to the conquest of the Midos, only then can you begin to conquer the intellect of the animal soul and transform that. So therefore, the process of conquering the 7 lands had to come before the process of conquering the 3 lands. And in the future, this Torah Chadasha will be specifically in those 3 lands. We'll have a new realm of Torah, which will enable us to do this further level of conquering the mind. You following?
Because we're already going to conquer the 7.
Exactly. So we're already dealing with the most pristine levels. And again, the mind, intrinsically, why is it so complicated to sort of conquer? Because it doesn't really have to. It's not really the same conversation. Again, what's the idea of conquering the mind? It's not refining so much the good from the evil, because the whole idea of the Torah of Mashiach is that it's in a realm beyond the world, right? It's in a realm beyond refinement of good from evil. So it's really more like accessing something which is beyond creation, right? The 7 Midos is the Indian of creation. It's worldly. The world was created in 7 days because it's from the 7 Midos. So all that process is basically just like making the world a perfect place. The idea of getting to the Chabad is accessing something beyond the mind, right? Or beyond creation and bringing it into creation. That's what it means to sort of like, how do you refine the mind, really? How do you make the mind elevate itself to a higher dimension? Is that you bring something into the mind which is beyond the mind, right? You basically, it accesses something which is beyond comprehension into the realm of comprehension. That's the only, because the mind is like a big yesh in a certain sense, right? The mind has to understand, and it's a big limitation, because if you don't understand it, you can't really internalize it. So the whole idea of Torah of Mashiach is that you're going to, as we said before, Mashiach is going to be a prophet and a wise man, wiser than Shlomo. He's going to be able to bring into the mind things which are beyond comprehension. So this is the refinement of the mind that's only going to be relevant after you refine the animal. Because you can't be running around doing foolish things and trying to take on that process at the same time. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, we're going to hold here. Yeah. If you want to pass in your copy.